All right, everybody, we are here to talk about women's health. I got a handout right here. Everybody watching it after the fact, feel free to contact us. Contact info is on the board. If you would like a copy of this handout, all of our clients know that the first of each month, we send out the previous month's workshops because we not only do these live for people to attend and for people to attend on Zoom, we also record them so you can watch them after the fact because I get it. People have stuff to do. Okay? Let's jump into women's health. Some basics. First, I am not a woman. I know. Some of you are surprised. Chances are none of you are surprised. Something between the 5 o'clock shadow, the voice, the general, what is that, frame, the build, right? Gave it away that I'm not a woman. Just thought I'd be clear about that. But I have worked with thousands of women on achieving greater health, and I have been paying attention. So the amount of misinformation on women's health is staggering. Especially in our modern world with social media, everybody is selling you something. Terms like beauty are used to elicit an emotional response. Your new beauty routine, bring out your inner beauty. True beauty is, okay, all these different things. They're all a sales pitch. This workshop outlines the nutrients needed by various parts of the female body for optimal functioning. So my goal is to make sure you know sources of nutrients in supplement form. I'm not going to ask you to buy any of them. What I really want this to be is something that gets you thinking about your health. If you're a lady, if you're a fella, I want you thinking about that special lady or ladies in your life that you could share this info with. And when you have questions about anything in this workshop, we want you to ask. Sound good? Cool. Let's jump in then. First one, the uterus. I had a client give me some really good feedback last week. They said, we like it when you write stuff on the board. We prefer it when you write stuff during the workshop because it keeps you from going too fast. You got it. So this one's for Kathy. Uterus. First thing we got to understand about a uterus, major simplification of it, looks approximately like a triangle. The womb, cradle of life, baby's first apartment. The uterus gives women one of their superpowers, a fifth path for toxin elimination. Everyone eliminates toxins via the skin, lungs, bowel, and bladder. But women are also capable of detox via menstruation, and that is the good news. The bad news is that if these other pathways, any of these four, become dysfunctional, they may start to lean on or rely on the uterus to help pick up the slack. But the uterus is designed for uterine functions, not the functions of skin, lungs, bowel, and bladder. This is why it's common to find metals, fungus, bacteria, chemicals, and excess levels of hormones inside the uterus when we are muscle testing. All these other parts of our body handle issues like the ones I just listed, metals, fungus, bacteria, chemicals, and hormones. But if they're not doing their job, then the uterus is going to have to pick up that slack. We know that there's quite a bit of toxins that get inside the bloodstream. So when you think about that uterine lining that gets shed when women menstruate, we should also think about it like it's potentially toxins. Our blood has toxins in them. The uterine lining is quite a bit of blood product in there. Therefore, there's the potential to have toxins within it. I wish all the toxins always left during menstruation, but some of them do seep back into the body. It's one of the reasons that I think it's really important to nourish a uterus. This sounds like it would only be an issue for cycling women. It is not. If at any point in a woman's life she has menstruated, then there is the potential that some of these toxins that were being removed via menstruation got into the body and are sitting just outside the uterus, and nourishing the uterus can absolutely support the body removing toxins that were formerly in the uterus. So for all you ladies who aren't cycling anymore, this still applies. First nutrient that I really like for this, I got them all stacked up here. Cataplex ACP. It's made by Standard Process. It's food source of vitamin A and C. What does that mean? It's not isolates. It wasn't grown in a laboratory. It was grown in their farm fields at standard process. Don't get me started on their farm fields. We'll be here all weekend. It supports anti-inflammatory action in the body. Uterus is very prone to inflammation. These nutrients help the body counter inflammation. They're also really good for your immune system. They're also really good for your lungs and your skin. So again, a lot of nutrients that support one area of the body support many areas of the body. I've said it in workshops before. I'm going to keep saying it. These nutrients are not one-trick ponies. Second supplement that I wish many more women knew about is called Cramplex. It's made by MediHerb. It's for cramps, and you can use it ongoing. You can also use it acutely. So quite a few women throughout my career have found that they can stop taking Tylenol or Midol or ibuprofen when they started to use Cramplex. We usually start pretty aggressively, taking 3 or 4 of these a day. And what we find is that over time, you need less and less, because this isn't just covering up symptoms, this is actually helping address the cause of cramps. Next one here is a liquid. It's called Schizandra. It's another wonderful herb. It supports hormone production. It supports liver health. It's one of my secret weapons for uterine health. Not a lot of people talk about Schizandra. It's real simple. You take a teaspoon of it a day. You can do it with or without food. And when you do this, you're supporting the way the uterus makes hormones and reacts to other hormones. We are going to talk about liver health in just a little bit here. Schizandra is something that we can also use for liver health. Oh, Spanish black radish. Where's my stack of Spanish black radish? Here it is. The best. Supports uterine health via its folate and sulfur content. Those are 2 different nutrients needed for uterine health. We also used to get a quite greater amount of folate and sulfur in a lot of our foods, but modern farming techniques and pollution has greatly decreased the amount of those nutrients in many of our foods. And then Eutrophin PMG. For everybody here and everybody watching on YouTube, we have a playlist called the ABCs of SP, where there is a 1-minute video on every standard process supplement made by yours truly. And I explain what all the different supplements do in 1 minute. Keep it really simple, just the basics. Basic way to understand Eutrophin PMG, it's a blend of minerals and proteins specific to uterine needs. Before a woman cycles, while she's cycling, after she cycles, if we find there's some kind of stress messing with the uterus, if there's something uterine related, this is one of my big go-tos. It's got some major anti-inflammatory action specific to the uterus. I really like turmeric. I really like Cataplex ACP. They both fight inflammation. This is specific to the uterus. And this idea of organ or gland-specific anti-inflammatory support is going to come up again and again in this workshop. That's the uterine example. All right, before we move on to ovaries, questions on uterine support. Good online, good in person, right on. We'll keep going. I'm going to go pink for ovaries. Another gross chart. It's not an exact chart. Please don't think that that's exactly what a uterus and ovaries look like, but for the sake of this workshop, it'll do it for us. Ovaries, they store eggs, and they produce hormones. Each month, the ovaries alternate which one drops an egg. So, if righty here drops an egg in January, then in February, it's lefty's turn. And in March, we're going back to righty. And in April, we're going back to lefty, so on and so forth. I bring that up because it is possible to have dysfunction in one ovary, but not both ovaries. They do the same job, but they are different glands. They are not one unit. They are two separate units that both do the same job. Many of the nutrients needed by the uterus are also needed by the ovaries. And the most common stressors of ovaries are going to be metals, fungus, vitamin E deficiency, and a zinc or copper imbalance. If you're curious about if you have a zinc or copper imbalance, it's not something we check on blood work. We use a hair tissue mineral analysis to determine that. It's a very accurate tool to determine if there is a zinc or copper imbalance. For ladies, when that's going on, it affects the ovaries. In fellas, when that's going on, it affects the testicles and the prostate. These are very important areas. They are notorious for giving us trouble that is not easily detected until it's a really big problem. So I like using the hair analysis to try to get in front of that. Some nutrients for the ovaries. First one is Femco. This is an herbal blend from MediHerb. And it contains support for ovarian function. A lot of the nutrients needed by the ovaries are related to the way they produce hormones like testosterone and some adrenal hormones like DHEA. The herbs that are in here help the body make those hormones. Next one, Fortil B12. Anytime I give somebody Fortil B12, they tend to get totally hooked on it. There's probably a lot of reasons. One reason, the nutrients that are inside of Fortil B12 are called hormonal precursors. That means in order for your body to make hormones like testosterone or estrogen or progesterone, it needs the nutrients that are inside Fortil B12. When guys are losing their hair, this is one of the best things you can give them to help their body stop losing hair. When women are having reproductive issues, this is one of the best things you can give them because it's not going to force a change in their hormones. It's the nutrients needed by the body to make sure the body can optimally produce and balance hormones. I really don't like forcing the body to do anything. I'd rather nourish the body and let its wisdom kick in. Oh, now that I have those nutrients to make those hormones I needed, I'm going to go ahead and pump them out. Fortil B12. Next one, Ovatrophin. Here's another one of those PMGs. This is gland-specific anti-inflammatory support. It's got minerals in it. It's got proteins in it that are specific to the ovaries. Every polycystic ovarian syndrome case I've ever worked on, I was using Ovatrophin to help get that case better. When women have a history of really severe PMS, sometimes it's diagnosed as PMDD, premenstrual dysphoric disorder. It means like a really severe PMS. I have found Ovatrophin PMG to be incredibly helpful for that. I've used it with women as young, feels weird to call them women, with females as young as 12 years old. It's safe for young women to use. Next one on here is Ovex or Ovex P. These are two different products. They're slightly different. We like to muscle test to determine which one would be best. Ovex or Ovex P is fast-acting inflammatory support. It's used for urgent situations. It's really good for getting the ovaries back on track. So the difference here, if there's a long-standing problem that isn't severe, or if we're just trying to maintain optimal ovary function, I'm going to use Ovatrophin PMG. If something's way out of whack, if a client schedules with me, for example, day of, so Lori's on the chat, everybody, so I'm going to reference Lori by pointing at the computer. Lori is not a computer, she's on the computer. Lori and I have built the schedule here to allow people to call the day of, and we'll have one or two slots that are open so you can get in. So something can acutely come up and we can get you in. We always want you feeling supported. One of the ways we do that is making ourselves easily available. When clients call in and they are acutely dealing with some gnarly reproductive dysfunction stuff, cramps, mood swings, whatever it is, if it's related to their cycle, I'm more inclined to use Ovex to help that situation. And once that's corrected, I'll transition them to Ovatrophin for long-term maintenance of the correction. So it is very common to see somebody take both of those products in order. Spanish black radish, still the best. Ovaries use the nutrients found in Spanish black radish to function and produce hormones. So if you're really paying attention, you heard me say 4-TIL-B12 is really great for hormone production. When you pair it with Spanish black radish, you are really doing a lot to optimize that hormone production in the body. And then wheat germ oil. This one is not spoken about very often, and I don't get to use it nearly as often as I would like to use it. It's a whole food source of vitamin E, which is required, vitamin E that is, to produce certain hormones. Now, the oil that comes from the wheat germ is something that used to be in all of our breads and pastas, and it isn't anymore here in the United States. For those of you who have traveled to Norway or to Italy or to certain parts of Europe, you've had pizza and you've had pasta, and you've told me, hey, when I ate pizza in Norway or pasta in Italy, I didn't have nearly as much bloating or digestive woes. My bowels didn't get as funky as they do when I eat those foods here in the States. Now, part of that might have been because you were on vacation, no doubt. The other part is, in those countries, their grains haven't been genetically modified as much, and they keep some of the wheat germ in the final product. And that wheat germ is something that really helps our body use the rest of what is in the grain. So many of my clients, in their entire lifetime, basically everybody who's younger than 50, have only known wheat products without the germ, which means they're lacking a lot of vitamin E from all the breads, the cookies, the cakes, the pastas that they've eaten in their whole life. When they start this, it starts to restore that deficiency, and it can work all sorts of wonders, but especially for reproductive organs like the ovaries. I use it on a lot of the cases that come to me where there's trouble conceiving. I really like to use wheat germ oil for both mom-to-be and dad-to-be. I find it to be really powerful support for getting all those hormone levels in a sweet spot for fertility. All right, that's ovaries. Questions coming to mind about ovaries? Good. Okay, cool. Let's talk about breasts. We're going to go orange for breasts. All right, breasts are composed of various tissues, including skin, milk ducts, lymph tissue, and vascular tissue. These are complex body parts. They got a lot of different things. Skin's function is very different from vascular tissue. Milk ducts are very different from lymph tissue, so on and so forth. There's a lot going on when we're talking about breasts. These tissues are sensitive to hormonal fluctuations and heart health. Many of the nutrients used by breast tissue are also used by the liver and the heart. This is a really common thing I want people to hear me say loud and clear. A lot of PMS that's related to things like breast tenderness, breast discomfort, even some types of cysts forming in breast tissue. The symptom is in the breast tissue. The cause is very commonly the liver, and the liver's difficulty keeping things clean. When the liver gets overwhelmed, it is very common to see it back up and affect lymph and vascular tissue. So we're about to go over some things that specifically support breast tissue, but I also want you to know if you have breast symptoms, it's really likely that something is going on with the liver. And when you come in for a consult and you mention something's going on with your breasts, we're going to make sure that we also have a conversation about your heart and your liver. So it's very likely that those organs are also influencing breast health. First one to talk about, Cataplex E or Cataplex E2. These are two different products from Standard Process. They're both vitamin E supplements. They support the circulatory system in different ways. So it takes an individual consult to know, hey, which one do I need? They're also both a source of selenium, which is really important for your liver. So when we take Cataplex E or Cataplex E2, we're supporting some of the tissues that are in breasts, but also some of the tissues that have a direct effect on breasts. Next one, Fortil B12, we already went over that one. We want to make sure that we are supporting that hormone production, because when your body can produce things in the right amounts, the body works the right way. And then mammary PMG. Here's another PMG. We spoke about the PMG for the uterus. We spoke about the PMG for the ovaries. Here's one for breast tissue. When I'm working with new moms or moms who are recently postpartum, if they're having any trouble with milk production, this is one of my favorite tools because it's just a really basic way to support the breast's functioning, including the milk ducts. This is something that I use with clients that have dealt with breast cancer as part of their recovery to make sure that their breasts come back stronger than before. That is a real thing. You can get that to happen. And whenever I see it, I'm reminded of a client I worked with probably 12 or 14 years ago. And she forgot the word mammary, but she remembered the word PMG for some reason. She said, I need the boob PMG. So to this day, when I see mammary PMG, I miss Erin because she was great to work with. She lived in California. The last time I heard from her, which was long ago, boob PMG. If you need boob PMG, it specifically reduces inflammation and provides minerals and proteins for boobs. There you go. Oh, Erin, thank you for that one. All right. Questions about breasts? We're good? Cool. I was talking to one of my friends this week. We were talking about getting together today. I said, hey, can't get together this Saturday. I'm holding a workshop. He's naturally a curious guy, so he said, what's your workshop on? And I said, oh, women's health. And he snickered a little bit, and he had a bunch of really silly jokes. He said, you going to talk about breasts? I said, I am. And he snickered some more, and I said, wait till you hear how many times I'm going to say vagina during the presentation. And he snickered even more. Shout out to Tom. Tom, I hope you watch this. All right, there are a number of issues that can affect vaginal health. pH balance is a primary driver of both health and dysfunction inside of the vaginal canal. Now, I know you've all heard that before because there's all sorts of products that take out radio ad space and TV space. They're inside of a lot of magazines with full-page things talking about pH balance. And all of those products are an outside-in type of support. Everything I'm going to talk about today for vaginal health is going to be an inside-out support. So please listen with open ears, like fresh ears. Okay? To support healthy pH balance from within, use products that support healthy acidification. A lot of different health gurus like to say that you need to go alkaline, the opposite of acid. If you're too acid, you'll get sick and die. That is a gross generalization. There are parts of our body that need to be alkaline. There are parts of our body that need to be acidic, like the vaginal canal. There are parts of our body, like our blood, that need to be neutral. So it is not one size fits all. Often, vaginal pH will be sacrificed for supporting the pH of another area. So, acid, something a healthy vagina needs, but it is also something needed by lungs, kidneys, our stomach, parts of our intestines. So there are various parts of the body that are going to need some acid, and if these areas are deficient, the body is aware that it needs to send acidifying nutrients to the lungs before the vaginal canal, because as much as it may upset you to know, you can live without a vagina, but you cannot live without lungs. So the body says, I'm going to take care of the more important thing by sending those nutrients there. In many cases, probiotic suppositories are also a really good way to make sure that we're getting healthy bacteria into the vaginal canal, because that is the second part of maintaining vaginal health. We need proper pH, we need all sorts of good bacteria, And often we actually need a suppository, because when we orally take a probiotic, it gets distributed evenly across our body, especially our gut, and there might not be a lot left over specifically for the vagina. But if we use a suppository that is getting delivered directly to those tissues, we're going to go over one of my favorite ones. A lot of women, when they are pregnant, they'll go to the doctor, they'll get something called a Group B strep test. It's to make sure that everything's healthy before the kid comes out. We don't want the kid to pass through infections. If a woman tests positive for Group B strep, they're told to take antibiotics to fix it. I have repeatedly used one of these supplements to help deal with Group B strep successfully without the need for antibiotics. And it works as fast or in as little time as about 2 weeks. So I often encourage these women like, hey, you tested positive for Group B strep, we're going to take care of this, give me 2 weeks. First supplement we need to know about is called betaine hydrochloride. And this is a digestive tract acidifier that can lend its acidity to body parts outside of the digestive tract. So when you Google betaine hydrochloride, you are going to hear about digestion, but the nutrients in here can be shared with other parts of the body like lungs, kidneys, and the vagina. Cal-Amo. This is our most potent acidifier. I use this with people who have allergies, people who have a history of dry eyes, people with major kidney dysfunction, people with major breathing issues, because it is our most potent acidifier, and those body parts need acid to function optimally. It's also really good for fighting fungal infections. So a lot of my ladies who have recurring UTIs and recurring yeast infections, throw some Cal-Amo in their program for a couple of months, new lease on life. Lactic acid yeast. This is the probiotic that I like. They are wafers. So what we do, at Zoom, we're running out of time. You might get booted in I think it gives us about 10 minutes from now. I'll get you as much info as I can in 10 minutes. These probiotic wafers are typically chewed, but they can be used as a vaginal suppository. The important thing to know about them is these wafers will only break down when your body needs them. So my ladies who have used these as a suppository have found that some nights they go to bed, they insert one of the wafers before bed, and in the morning it is completely dissolved. There are no remnants of it. They cannot find any trace. They think maybe it fell out, but wait, I had on underwear, it couldn't have fallen out. Other mornings they wake up after having one of these as a suppository, and it seems like the whole thing is there and like nothing has happened to it. No need to freak out. Some days your body needs more probiotic than other days. Every day is not the same. We got Zymex over here. This is the baby brother to Cal-Amo. Zymex is really good at acidifying the intestines, the vaginal canal, and the urethra. This is another thing for my recurring UTI people. Zymex becomes one of their favorite things, and it's safe to take long term. I can't tell you how many people we've cleaned up UTIs with, and then they say, I know I don't need the Zymex anymore. Is it okay if I keep taking 1 or 2 a day? I'd just really rather never have a UTI ever again. It's safe to take long term. And then Zypan. So Zypan is betaine hydrochloride, which I was speaking about just a few minutes ago, plus digestive enzymes. So remember, betaine is specific to the digestive tract, but it will share with other body parts. And when we put enzymes in here, more digestive support, it makes it easier for the body to share that good acid with other body parts, because the enzymes help the stomach and the intestines, reducing their need for pro-acid support. A lot of people just take this because it helps them digest their food. Little did they know, if they have a vagina, it's also helping the health of their vagina. All right, questions on vaginal health? If my buddy Tom watches this video, he's absolutely going to count how many times I said vagina or vaginal. I'm betting on it. I'm betting on it. Was I right, Tom? We'll see. All right, we're going to go on to liver. So far everything we've spoken about has been really specifically female anatomy. Now what we're going to talk about is going to be body parts that both men and women have, but the nutrients and the support for these areas are more specific to women than they are to men. All right, liver, this dark reddish brown kind of organ. We should write about it with the brown marker. Liver is one of the most important organs in the body for hormonal health. Issues related to puberty, PMS, and menopause often stem from the need for liver nourishment. While the liver does not make much hormone, it is responsible for balancing levels of various hormones in the blood. What comes up all the time is that the body has hormone number 1 over here in a far greater amount than hormone 2 over there. And one of the liver's jobs is to say, you know what, I'm going to hold back some of hormone 1. I'm going to keep that hormone 2 in play. And the outcome is that then we get a better balance of those 2 hormones. The liver didn't make either of those hormones. What it did was it removed the one that was in a greater amount from the bloodstream so that we could get level amounts of those hormones in the bloodstream. When we check for things like T3 or T4, which are thyroid hormones, those are heavily influenced by liver function. We're going to talk about thyroid next. That's just one example. The only way to really help our thyroid is to make sure we're also helping our liver. And that's true of a lot of different hormones, not just thyroid hormones. The first nutrient to support liver health is glycine. Glycine, I don't like it as an isolate. I like it from collagen or gelatin or bone broth. It's one of the reasons that I'm a really big fan of getting people collagen in supplemental form, because it is very rich in glycine. Next supplement to talk about for liver health is hepatrophin PMG. Hepatrophin PMG is the minerals and the proteins that help reduce inflammation. You got it, in the liver. Really easy to take, safe for people of pretty much all ages, and helps the liver do the things the liver was designed to do. I have found many young people going through puberty have an easier time going through puberty when they're using hepatrophin, and one of the nutrients in hepatrophin is one of the ingredients in a product called Livoplex. So many of my pubescent clients get put on Livoplex because it's 6 different supplements in one. And I don't really like to try to get, well, for the most part, teenagers don't like to take a lot of pills. Using Livoplex allows me to get them 6 different supplements all in one package. Hepatrophin is one of those supplements in that package. Next one is milk thistle forte. And there are many different milk thistle products out there. This is one of the best on earth. This herb is one of the oldest liver remedies in existence. It's used for a variety of reasons because it supports a variety of liver functions. It's a real basic thing to take. It's something that many people need and don't get. Small doses of that go a really long way. Spanish black radish, of course, the very best. There's actually studies. I always have one posted right up here on my board. Studies have proven that Spanish black radish increases liver efficiency. Whatever your liver is working on, it goes quicker and smoother in the presence of Spanish black radish. And then zinc complex or zinc chelate. Food sources of zinc and other critical trace minerals. And those trace minerals are required for optimal liver function, and they are deficient in most of our modern foods. I mentioned this earlier in the workshop. Many of our modern foods do not have the levels of these minerals that our grandparents got from the very same foods. Questions on liver? We're just ripping through these. right, thyroid, our sweet, sweet thyroid. What color haven't I used yet? Go with black. Thyroid is one of the most talked about glands in the human body, and at the same time is one of the most commonly undernourished glands in the body. In order to improve thyroid health, liver and pituitary function must also be addressed. These three body parts work in concert and rely on one another for their functioning. When we get lab work done, it's a really common thing to have your TSH, or thyroid stimulating hormone, checked. What I want you to understand is that your pituitary gland inside of your brain is what releases that, and that goes to the thyroid. That thyroid stimulating hormone stimulates the thyroid for it to kick out its hormone, one of its hormones, and that hormone goes over to our liver, where it gets converted into a more powerful form. That's why we check both T3 and T4. Our thyroid makes T4, it goes to the liver, it becomes T3, which is more potent, it is more powerful. It has a greater cellular effect inside of our body. Our body cannot convert that hormone without optimal liver function. That's why I was talking about liver just a minute ago. After the liver converts that hormone, it sends a message back up to the pituitary telling it how much of that hormone is now in circulation, and the pituitary decides if it needs to send out more thyroid stimulating hormone. When we are taking care of a thyroid, the only way to be fully effective is to take care of the pituitary and the liver at the same time. So a couple of the things on this list, you guessed it, are thyroid, pituitary, and liver nourishment all in one. The first one is the amino acid tyrosine. This amino acid plays a major part in the production of adrenaline, thyroid hormones, dopamine, and skin pigment. So the reason that your skin, and also your eyes for that matter, have color is tyrosine dependent. It's in the Cataplex ACP that we like to use for uterine health. It's in Cataplex C. It's in the SP Complete protein drink. It's also in collagen. The most fundamental way that we get tyrosine is by having adequate protein intake. So one of the reasons every client that comes in here, the first food conversation I have with them revolves around protein. Selenium E. This is a food source of selenium that supports thyroid hormone optimization. The liver needs this to convert that T4 into T3. It's also really important for brain function. Yes, more people need it. All right, Mintran and Minchex. Everybody in this room knows these two because everybody in this room is on at least one of these. These are soothing blends that provide various minerals and vitamins needed by the thyroid. Calcium, potassium, iodine, all those nutrients are inside of Mintran and Minchex. Some of the most fundamental nourishment for the thyroid. I try to get everybody on it. I do meet a number of clients whose thyroids are so far out of whack, often because of their liver, that I cannot give them iodine. I have to wait to give them Mintran or Minchex until their liver gets in a better place. Iodine can be way too stimulating to a thyroid that's in a body with a dysfunctional liver. One of the easiest ways to know if you have a dysfunctional liver-thyroid relationship going on in your body, if you take Mintran or Minchex and instead of feeling calmer and more soothed, less anxious, less edgy, if you feel more of those feelings, that's a really good indicator that your liver needs some love. If that happens to you, let me know right away. Simplex F. Simplex F is a blend of 4 PMG supplements. So those proteins and minerals that help reduce inflammation in the glands. The 4 PMGs inside Simplex F are thyroid, pituitary, ovaries, and adrenals. Really powerful support. A lot of the pubescent ladies that I meet get put on low doses of this. Makes the whole thing go easier. And Thytrophin PMG, a blend of minerals and proteins, you guessed it, specific to reducing inflammation inside of the thyroid. Both men and women can take this. I do find that it's more commonly used by women. It's probably a different workshop altogether, but the quick and dirty version of why is that liver function in men and women is very different. It's one of the reasons alcohol affects women very differently than it affects men. It has to do with the liver. Same thing with that thytrophin and it working with the thyroid and the liver. A woman's liver is very different than a man's liver. That's why I spoke about liver in this workshop. All right, next is a bunch of common combos for women's health. I am going to chop this video and put it into a part 2. So this is the end of this video. You can check on YouTube for part 2, where I go over common combos for women's health. Any questions before we jump all the way into that? Oh, we're good? Okay.